Squad number 43 scored in minute number 41 for Rangers. No, it's like the man who wears number 43 scored in minute 41 to ensure that Rangers went into place number 2 in the League of 12. You're losing that one. It's got to be slicker than that. Come on, it's staring you right in the face. This is an open goal, surely, in terms of slickness, in terms of one of the wee 15-second kind of sound bites that you can get onto. You can get onto a YouTube short, and that'll just bring in the traffic that'll bring in. You might get enough traffic, make enough viewers for something like that to afford to buy yourself a new camera, a new phone, so your pods are now out of sync. The man who wears 43 in honour of the postcode of the area of Belgium, the area of Brussels that he's from, sent Rangers in minute 41 to the postal area of second place. It's not working. Just going to have to do your usual verbose, long drawn out, painful, dying of hypothermia, suffering for all your drinking at New Year, and just thinking far too much about Rangers to make anything slick. You just got to do the usual kind of podcast. Thank Christ we actually won the game. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg immediate post. Danny Röhl has, in his last 4 games in charge, beaten the holders of the Scottish Cup, beaten the league champions, beaten the reigning league champions, beat the holders of the League Cup, and beat, according to Martin O'Neill, the best footballing side in Scotland. That's Martin's in there. Martin's back. No, Russell Martin, sorry. Martin O'Neill's back, and he's doing the Peter Lawwell thing, the Neil Lennon thing, even though none of the two of them are at Celtic anymore. He's doing that thing of already making excuses for the club's defeats. So we need to step up our game here. He'll get them going, and that's us going to second place in the league in game 21 of the league season. We have played everybody twice except the team, everybody home and away except the team we played tonight. This is us playing Aberdeen for the first time this season, playing them at home in the league. We will play them away in our next game on Sunday, and Danny Röhl, I think, got his 10th league win tonight. Rangers have won 11 league games this season, so we're getting to the point we're ahead of the curve. We've won more than half of our league games this season, something we never thought would happen after Russell Martin started us off with 1 league win out of our first 7 SPFL Premiership games, and I think that's Danny Röhl's 6th or 7th clean sheet. Established tonight. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet on YouTube, the Gersnet YouTube channel, and that'd be every Friday night 9pm live, every Friday night 9pm live, every Sunday the flagship show 9:30, and thereafter available on all good streaming platforms. I'm sponsored by that, and I'm sponsored by Outsider. I'm outside, and I'm an outsider, but you know how I'm spelling it, don't you? Outsider. It's a drink. Outsider. I don't know if it's served in a pump, and I don't know if you get it in bottles. It's one of the ones you buy in bottles in bars. It's so long since I've been in an actual bar getting socialising, doing social drinking. I usually just sit in the house looking up random stats about Gerd Muller, drinking on my own, into the wee small hours with Sky Sports News on mute in the background. But I don't know, it's Outsider. I think that's really clever. I see that now, it's popping up in the advertising hoardings all around. There was a wee thing last night in the news, a wee segment in the Report in Scotland about how we're going to get the bank holiday for Scotland against Haiti in the World Cup. And they were talking to a fella who owns a big boozer in Edinburgh, and they started off with setting the scene by a wee close-up of the pints, the student prices. £5 for a pint of Tennent's. £5 for a pint of Tennent's. That's student prices as well. Jesus, I need to get myself back. I've lost track of how expensive stuff is. But I saw just doing it outsider. So maybe it's a thing now. I was talking the other day about the Zulu, the Birmingham City multiracial firm. Their hooligans, the Zulu, lobbing big bottles of Cirrus cider at me. That was like 20 years ago. I don't think they make Cirrus anymore. That was an offshoot of... Now, what was the one with the arrows? What's that? Archer? It's like Strongbow. And it's quite funny because they were lobbing it. I get caught up in the Wolves Subway Army casuals coming out of Birmingham City against Wolves, 2006-ish. And they were lobbing these big bottles up at me, and it was like the old strongbow men, like archers would in the medieval wars. Just a big volley of arrows up in the air, and they're all coming down on you. But they were so slow and all that, you could see them coming, so you could get out of the way quite comfortably. But that's kind of side. And I thought outsider, that's really good. That's good. That's what they're doing there. You're making you an outsider. And the colours It's really good now, the modern LCD advertising hoardings. They can do a little kind of presentation all of their own. It's moving figures, moving colours, and outsider, it's Apple, it's all Apple, you know, and it's like, it goes kind of multicoloured, it turns into this kind of multicoloured thing. Made from apples, or cider, it should be, I would suppose. But I'm thinking, if you want to get right into that whole thing about it's made from apples, that makes you an outsider, because I don't know, is it a bit of a rebel? Everybody likes the idea of being a bit of a rebel, being a bit different. Maybe they should do one that's, they should really go for it and do like CI-sgen-DER, cider, and just obviously do the letters CI-DER of cider, but CI, and then put cisgender, make it cisgender, put that in a different colour, the middle bit, and then DER at the end, in the same colour as the CI at the beginning, because then that'd be a bit controversial, wouldn't it? That'd be nice and controversial, and that's what folk like. You get all the folk giving, why are you giving my lanes a sex change at PE at school? That'd be quite good. If you want to be really, sorry folks, my name's Alec Anderson. Under a blood-red sky, a crowd is gathered, black and white, arms entwined, the chosen few. The newspaper says, say it's true, we can break through the whole torn in two, we can be one. I will begin again. I will begin again. Yeah, that goes out to Martin O'Neill there. That goes out to Celtic. No, torn in two they were at the weekend, but Martin's coming back to he will begin again, having been their temporary manager already this season. He's coming back, and suddenly everything's absolutely fine. I suddenly realised that's why you should complain about stuff. That's why you should protest. I've got it for both ends. Way this season, I've been here at Ibrox and seen the Rangers supporters, as far as I was concerned, kind of embarrassing themselves and embarrassing the club. The ones that are protesting stuff and putting up big banners with crosshairs with directors in them and the head coach and all that, and holding up play and a League Cup quarter final against Hibs by chucking stuff in the park, and I'm like, that's fine, we can express our opinion, but this is OTT. It feels kind of performative. Why do you hate your own club? I've seen Celtic fans doing it the other day outside Parkhead. They're all walking away, got a chance of no winning the league for maybe only the second time in 15 years, and they're behaving as if really something genuinely terrible is about to happen to them. It's the end of the world, and they're protesting this stuff, they're outraged, they're attacking the directors, they're abusing their own players, and they're holding the main stand siege for the outside after the game, and protesting this and protesting that, and I don't, and talking on the podcasts about don't buy stuff for the club, don't starving your own club of money. You're going to kill you. What is this all about? I don't really understand it. I had my own kind of pet theories, but it's only tonight. It's only tonight that I realise. It's only today, maybe since last night. Really, I was doing my post-match reaction pod. So I was doing my preview pod for this game. It's cold, folks, sorry, I'm losing it, it's really cold here. I was doing my preview pod for this game too late and too long, as usual, but there's so much to talk about these days. But while I was doing it, Martin O'Neill was returning as the Celtic temporary coach, and all the messages started coming in. I started seeing folk on the telly and folk on podcasts, Celtic fans celebrating. The same folk who'd been raging 2 minutes, and it's, that's great, we're winning this league now. I've been saying the same thing myself. On Saturday night after the game, Celtic had played so well in the first half against us, it wouldn't take much to improve them and get them back to winning ways. They're probably still title favourites. It was really clear at that point that they were going to sack Wilfried Nancy, and any living thing would have improved Celtic's results from that point in time. But Celtic fans, their mood changed the night, and I'm thinking the night myself, I saw Jack Butland coming out there. Jack Butland, super Jack Butland doing goals, but he's wearing that kind of charcoal grey, the goalkeeper strip, and I'm thinking, wait a fucking minute, this is Aberdeen we're playing, that is borderline granite. What you're wearing, that is a borderline granite, and that's the thing, you go to Aberdeen, it's just granite. I know it's covered in snow just now, but it looks like it's covered in dust. Susan the Banshees, for years I thought the last kind of big hit for Susan the Banshees, Cities and Dust. I thought it was, I didn't think it was about Pompeii. I thought it was about Aberdeen. First time as a kid, you're 13, 14, and you go to see Rangers at Pittodrie, and you're driving along Union Street in the bus. You're like, what the hell's happened here? Have they forgot to dust? Everything's just grey. This is covered. Oh, your city's covered in dust. You might get a wee dust. That's Aberdeen. And it's the Granite City. That's linked with Aberdeen. Why is your goalkeeper wearing that? Why is your goalkeeper wearing grey? Why is he wearing like a pro Aberdeen? Did we send Jack Button to wearing a green top against Celtic? No. Who do you complain to about this? Who's this? Was it a new commercial director? That guy we've got in, the guy for we got him for the Aviva Stadium. He was the CEO of the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Dublin, that's the opposite of Rangers. If they go to Dublin, we'll follow on. Doesn't mean bring Dublin here to get employed. Who do you complain? Get this bumpo sacked. Oh, I'm sacked now. And then it feels like a personal victory for me. It feels like a personal, because so much about football is sitting there and just, you basically can't do anything. You're just hoping that your team does stuff. You can cheer them on. That's why I don't understand why Rangers supporters, or supporters of any team, would want to abuse their own players so much, because the best thing you could do to help them 10 times or 9 times out of 10 is to cheer them on. And that Asgard comes on at half time, right? Gassama's already on the park, and I'm 56 years old, and I'm freezing, and these specs, I've got the wrong prescription, I'm going to have to get new specs and that kind of stuff, and it's getting harder and harder for me to keep up with all the players that we're signing over the years. It's like 40 odd for the best part of 50 years of supporting Rangers. There's so many players I've got in my head, and they've got 2 guys whose names are just all A's and all G's. It's like the worst fucking week of watching Sesame Street. Today's letter is A. I bet tomorrow's is G. Tomorrow's letter's G. Oh, no, fucking next day after that, the letter's A again. Today's letter is G. It's too many G's, too many A's. I'm constantly getting their names mixed up when I'm doing these podcasts. Who do I complain about this? Who's in charge of signing players based on their name? Is it the letter A and the letter G? Are they particularly expensive in the shop? If you go to get a shop, you get the name in the back of this. That's what the fucking problem is. I want that person sacked. That's probably that CEO guy. That's probably Patrick Stewart got him sacked. Or the commercial guy, the new, get him sacked. I want him sacked, because if he gets sacked, I'll feel as if it's a personal victory for me. I've been proactive and I'm actually taking part in the football, and that's the kind of, and the Celtic sheep-shagging bastards. You're only sheep-shagging bastards. That's been gone for like the first time I went to Aberdeen, I thought this place is great. It looks as if it's covered in dust. We were singing that, and I thought, I was 14 at the time. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny when I was 14. Now they sing it back at us, the Aberdeen supporters. Who's that? Is that what we can come up with? Sheep shag? It's not to do with the fact that I'm from North Ayrshire and some of these sheep. Oh yeah, it's nothing to do with that. It's not. Could we not do something? I mean, it's like the fish. Just fishing in Aberdeen, and then it was the oil industry. There's probably some that's kind of fish oil, oily bastards. You're only performatively hating us because that's a way of attaching yourself to our glory as a football club, in the same way that Leeds United maybe do it to Manchester United, although Leeds United did, in fairness, lose the one Cup Winners' Cup final that they played in, whereas you won yours. Fair play. We've only won one Cup Winners' Cup as well, but we've won 55 league titles and you've only won 4, so that's probably why you try to make out there's a rivalry with Rangers, because when you did have success, you get far too much success in far too condensed a period. You should have had it spread out over the years. Not 3 of your 4 league titles were won in the space of 5 years, and you get a Cup Winners' Cup in there and a few Scottish Cups and a few League Cups as well. Under Alex, I think you only won 1 League Cup actually, bastards. I mean, it's not quite as catchy, right? We can work in that kind of thing, but it's the same fucking song for like 50 years. Sheep-shagging bastards, sheep-shagging bastards. Who's in charge of that? Who's in charge of the songs? Who's in charge of the insults? I want him sacked, or her, whoever it is, one of the Union Bears, one of the Union Bearettes. I don't care. I'll just say to them, please stop punching me. Go on, stop with that song. I want you sacked, because if they get sacked and we change that chant, I'll feel kind of proactive, and I feel as if I'm not actually helpless. I'm not actually just sitting spending lots of money sitting there hoping that a team will do something, like a bunch of players that I've never met will actually do something that completely changes my life. There's a certain feeling of proactivity, and what happens is, I think that the actual behaviour, the actual act of protesting, after 7 league games in a season, or even less than that, I feel the act of protesting when you look like you're not going to win the league for only the second time in 15 years is a humiliation for you as a supporter and an embarrassment for your club, and it's something that lets other fans slag you rotten. But it's turned out, I feel as if what's actually happened is I've got the message now, because all these Celtic fans are like, we get rid of him, we get rid of that, so it doesn't count. I wanted rid of him. And now we've got rid of Nancy, and we've got Martin O'Neill back, who did quite well for us there, and was brilliant for us in the past. I mean, we won 2 league titles. We won a treble. Well, Martin O'Neill was there as much. We won another league title and a Scottish Cup and a League Cup double another season. Helicopter Sunday. We did no bad when Martin O'Neill was manager the first time, and we won the. He did put us out of League Cup, strictly speaking, the second time when he came back as caretaker manager earlier this season. But but that's something they feel we wanted Martin O'Neill back. So now we're supporting Celtic again. That stuff that happened there, that's nothing to do with me. That's not. No, Russell Martin's time at Rangers, I wanted rid of him. I was boycotting the club to show how much I didn't want him. So that doesn't really. I kind of get slagged at my work by Celtic fans because I had disassociated myself from the bad stuff by protesting and finding some reason to be outraged by it. It isn't just, we'll suck it and see, we've got to try something different. I want to stick by my club all the time. For me, if you turn your back on your club to the point where you're actually protesting the players and stuff like that, you kind of don't deserve to celebrate when they eventually win something, whatever iteration the club wins something. But I'm getting the feel, I'm working it out now. I'm getting this modern. There's like a. I think there's a thing goes out on one of the websites. What is it? When you do the protests, you can organise a protest. Folk are trying to a petition to change the government. They've been trying to get rid of the Labour government by petition within about 2 minutes of Keir Starmer getting into power. And I think, don't get me wrong, I was the same when it came to Brexit. I was wanting to reverse that straight away, whatever way we could. But it's just that there is an election every 4 or 5 years. There's other democratic processes. It's the same thing with supporting your Fitbit team. Folk just can't stand being a wee bit uncomfortable about stuff. Stuff hasn't gone their way, and they can't stand. I don't really know what I'm talking about. How do folks I say, my name's Alec Anderson, and I am here outside a pretty cold Ibrox, although, to be honest, the temperature has increased here over the course of the last few days. It was beautiful. I was worried. I'll get back to that. I'm here to talk to you about Rangers having just beaten Aberdeen by 2-0 to go clear in second place in the SPFL Premiership tonight, Tuesday, the 6th of January? January 6th. No need for protests. No need to storm the Capitol building tonight for the Rangers support, as it all went according to plan. Not a great game, not a memorable game. Pretty much Conor Barron, who I was wondering aloud in the first half on Saturday at Parkhead when I was watching that on the telly. I was wondering aloud about how maybe we'd suffer because James Tavernier wasn't on the park to take our corners. Well, then Conor Barron's going out the other night, obviously taking that personally, and he's put in the 2 corners for the 2 headers, for the 2 set pieces that made Scott Fry, our man of the match, Scott Fry, the new set piece coach, man of the match tonight. And that was it. That was basically it. You're really struggling for any other highlights, as I thought it might be a bit after the Lord Mayor's show. A bit of a downer not a downer, but it's very difficult to pick yourself up after a game like Saturday, where it was just such high emotion, beating your derby rival, especially in their home patch, always going to be emotional. But I think a Rangers team who has struggled at the beginning of the season, so many of these players still settling into the club in pretty traumatic circumstances, some necessary, some not. You get to the point you go and you beat a team that you thought you were never going to catch up with, the team that we all got, the reigning league champions, a team that have dominated domestically for the last best part of 15 years. Well, to go there and win in the fashion we did, I think it's kind of ecstasy like that, the total relief, the feeling of catharsis. That can be as bad as a defeat sometimes when it comes to the reaction in the next game, trying to get a reaction in the next game. And so I thought there was always going to be a bit of a kind of come down from Parkhead, but also we need to have one eye in the build up to going to Pittodrie. Even though it's Aberdeen we're playing tonight, Aberdeen at Pittodrie is a completely different game. It has been for the last 20 odd years to Aberdeen at Ibrox, and it worked out like that. It was 2-0, 2 kind of headed goals from set pieces in the first half, a second half that never really got going at all. Plenty of substitutions, as there always is in football matches these days, to be fair, and that was it. Job done. That's what we wanted. So any fears quelled by Rangers being 2-0 up at half time. I still managed to find plenty to panic about in the second half, but it was nice. It was nice. It's job done, and just to see is it's like we've purchased a suit on credit. We've got I've got a suit, a nice 3-piece suit, like I used to wear when I was a youth. I've never worn a 3-piece suit in my life. A nice double-breasted, and I did wear a double-breasted suit. I'm a man of the mid-80s to mid-90s, and you've purchased one of them, maybe on a credit card, on an old credit card. It looks good, but there's still a price to pay. We've played a game more than Hearts and Celtic, but just to know that we're there, just to be up there, just to be in that spot, to have gone clear in second place, albeit we've played a game more than the team above us and the team below us, directly above and directly below. It would have been so much worse if we hadn't even managed to do that. This is what Danny Röhl has done since he arrived here. Danny has done this, their gaffer has done this thing of just reeling everybody in, clawing everybody back gradually, as I say. I think that's win number 10 for him in the league. He's won 10 of our 11 league games in charge, and it's the 6th or 7th. I need to kind of think this one through. I think it's maybe the 7th clean sheet in the league as well for Danny Röhl. Quite incredible. And Motherwell, I think Hibs as well, but obviously we were in 8th place in the league when Danny Röhl took over. That's us now second. But it's just like Hibs were above us. We'll beat them home and away under Danny Röhl, so we get away for Hibs. Motherwell, I think we went ahead of Motherwell maybe once. They constantly were getting back up into 3rd place, but we'd go ahead and then they'd pull us back. We'd go ahead and then we'd pull us back. And then on Saturday, for example, we go and win at Parkhead, but Motherwell still win. They win by 2 goals as well. They're in the same goal difference as us. We beat them by that single goal at Ibrox. We're in the same goal difference as us after the game on Saturday. And we go up there were our respective games on Saturday, so we can't even really get away from them in that sense. But this is us getting a chance to, because they've played a game more than us. They're still just 2 points behind us, just 2 points behind us, and we go ahead of them. We go ahead of them to go 5 points ahead of them tonight. We'll play the same amount of games as Motherwell. We're kind of getting away from that third to 4th place slot. And Celtic, we go level on points with them, but we're still stuck in 3rd because we'd failed to score one more goal. If we'd beat them 4-1, we would have went ahead of them in goal difference. Same goal difference, Celtic have scored, I think it's 2 goals more than us. So it goes, goal difference is level, goes to goals scored. Celtic have scored, I think there's 2 goals more than us. So we nip ahead of them tonight by going out there, actually going into second place on our own. Celtic should, it's going to be packed, 60,000, the Green Brigade will be back and everything. Martin O'Neill, the Messiah, is back at Parkhead. It's going to be insane. They're going to blow Dundee United away on Saturday. So they're going to go back in front of us, you would imagine, but it makes them have to. They have to do it. It's not, what things are like. We're the same. If Celtic slip up in any way when we're not actually doing anything, it's because of the aura of whoever happens to be in charge of Rangers at that point in time. And you would have had that tonight. If we'd slipped up in any way against Aberdeen, drop points here tonight, Martin O'Neill's he's not even had a game in charge in his second spell back, and already the Huns are packing it in. They can't handle it. What a man. That hasn't happened. And it's a big relief in itself. We have built on a major win. We've augmented what we did on Saturday, and that's really all there is to say about the game itself. Starting 11, I was giving it a big licks last night. I wanted the starting 11 tonight to be the starting 11 of the second half. And Saturday at Asgard, he was absolutely crap in the first half. The booking he picked up in the 7th minute. Part of that, but don't have him, Diamandi, so have him starting. And it was that, except for the fact that Dujon Sterling didn't start. It was James Tavernier who was on the bench. Big call, Tav on the bench at Parkhead on Saturday when we have a seminal win. Really, it's a kind of statement on Tav's probably age more than anything else. Certainly not his service, certainly not his ability, but he's definitely wilting in terms of his physical ability because of his age. Tav, he's kind of grinding to a halt. It looks like I'll never write him off, but he was on the bench on Saturday, and Dujon Sterling came in. His return to fitness have been timed just to perfection. But Tav was starting tonight. Captain was back, right back. We went with I think it's probably 4-3-3. I don't know if it's I think it might have been a 4-2-1-3 again, but Dujon Sterling was on the bench. Now, Dujon Sterling could have been on the bench tonight because he's just come back from a long-term injury. He's just getting bled back into the team. I think, did he play the full 90 on Saturday? That'd be his first full 90 for Rangers for, over 6 months anyway. Is it back to, I think it was March, April, was it Athletic Bilbao game? The quarter-final of last season's Europa League, the first leg. He's been injured since then. So that's absolutely ages, and he's only had like 2 or 3 games back, and then he plays bits of games back, and then he plays a full game of such intensity, and he was brilliant at Parkhead. Could have been that, just managing his hours, managing his comeback from injury, or it could be whatever it is that happened. Have you heard it? Whatever it is that happened in the town in the early hours of Sunday morning. I couldn't wait to get to Edinburgh tonight because there's a couple of boys that sit in front of us, and another boy that have always got the skinny, they've always got the gossip. Maybe not the facts of what's happened and something like that, but certainly all the kind of juiciest rumours about what's happened. But no, nobody knows anything. He seems to have been arrested for some sort of traffic incident in the city centre in the early hours of Sunday. I have heard, my sources are telling me that it was a pregnant woman. He had to get her to hospital in time, and he had to drive up a bus lane just to make sure. It's while he was dropping off food, and usually there's like a soup kitchen in the city centre under the Hillman's umbrella. He wanted to get there and he dishes out the food and all that, but the SNP government don't like that because he's a comment on how they're not looking after the vulnerable at this time of year, so they've fitted him up. That's what I've heard anyway. That's how I've heard. But maybe it was just a fitness thing. Do John come on in the second half anyway? Maybe it was a wee kind of in-house, bit of discipline. Right, you're at the starting 11. He's thinking, so they'll be in the starting 11 for most of the last 8 months. Not a big one. But it was Tav that started. We had Emmy Fernandez and John Suter. John Suter starting again, another man who's just coming back from a long-term injury or a kind of medium-term injury. They're in at centre half. Super Jack Butland, all in granite in goal. Jaden Magoma, it's becoming a bit of a mainstay now, Jaden Magoma, a bit of a fixture anyway. At left back, the young man, after many doubts about him during the Russell Martin period. And it was Connor Barron and Nico Raskin and Mohamed Diamandi, who are either a 3 across midfield, or it's Nico and Connor Barron as a sitting 2, and Dio wearing number 10. Always, it's kind of Stroop effect. It makes me think he's played number 10. He's played in the 10 position. I think he might have been pushing forward. Dio advances so far forward. In a game like this, Rangers are pushing forward so much all the time, it's kind of difficult to tell. Connor Barron's kind of pushing up as well. And then we retained Mikey Moore on the left-hand side. JD Gassama, the gas on the right-hand side. Big Youssef Chermiti, the goal hero, the hero of Saturday at centre forward. So it started off the first. I got a wee mnemonic going. What was it? I'm going to have to remember this because it's going to be freezing after the game. You're going to try hard to remember anything that happened in this game to talk to folk about the post-match reaction. And it was Meetoff, Tifo and the Govan-Derry Fleeto. That was him. The Tifo before the game, great. Don't know what it said. There's some no surrender was the cry, and it's just the angle I sit at, the bit I'm at in the main stand. It's too close to the Copeland, too near the Copeland, and I was coming out when I came out the kind of vomitory bit for the concourse out into the stand. You first see the stadium. I could see no surrender was the because I'm too close to the kind of screen bit across the side of the Copeland, and I was getting distracted by Chris Sutton and Chris Boyd sitting in my line of vision as well in that wee Sky presentation, the wee Sky mobile studio thing that's been set up at the end of the West Enclosure. But there's no surrender was the cry. I'm thinking, I bet that's going to be a cry. I think no surrender was a cry. And then there's the bit down the front. They were just unfurling that. So I've got to I couldn't see it as the young boys are unfurling the second line, going along the front of the stand. It's kind of big white letters on blue canvas. And then they're reeling it back in. I've got to try and read it backwards to see what it was. I don't know what it said. But then in the red, white and blue, in the front of the front of the Copeland where the Union Bells are, everybody was holding up red, white or blue. Kind of, the bits of paper or whatever it is that create a big, massive effect. But there's a lot of empty seats tonight. A lot of empty seats. Doesn't matter that we won that game on Saturday. It's a cold night at the start of January, a freezing cold night at 8 o'clock kick-off on a Tuesday night. So a lot of empty seats. So a lot of those little bits of the Tifo remained under their seats. And you think that's a kind of, the Union Bears are trying their best, but there's a slightly underwhelming atmosphere after the Lord Mayor's show. This was my worry. And then big Meetoff, that was the third minute of the game, ball into the box. He comes out, the Aberdeen goalkeeper, all in yellow, drops the ball. Oh my God, we're going to get an early goal. Didn't happen. I think it was the 6th minute that Nicky Devlin went right through Nico Raskin, and late, they're obviously hitting that Raskin, get him hit, and you're thinking Aberdeen might be in a kind of situation. They've got no manager, they've got a caretaker manager, Peter leaving. I don't know, I was hearing a wee bit of Michael Stewart and Tom English, which, combined with the fact that I actually was sitting just along for Chris Sutton, was a really unpleasant start to the evening. I heard that on Radio Scotland. I was trying to get details on the team and all that, and they were having that kind of argument. I was only midway through it, and by the time Willie Miller came in to talk to them down the phone to slag them for their attitude, it was all about Aberdeen. It was all about the sacking of Jimmy Tellin, and they were, for some reason, they were falling out about the attitude towards it. But I just hit the Clyde tunnel, didn't I? I hit the Clyde tunnel as Willie Miller came on to talk about a sense. Somebody who actually knows a bit about Aberdeen, more about Aberdeen than anybody else probably, to talk about a sense into them, and I missed what was being said. But apparently, the general gist is, it really, really hurt Aberdeen. It really hurts their owners, their directors, and all that, to have to sack Jimmy Tellin. They put a lot into it. They loved the guy. Of course, they won him the Scottish Cup and that, but they've got money, they've got ambition, as Aberdeen usually have, and it's just not happening. So I don't know if their players, I was wondering if their players were going to be in the situation that the legendary Port Vale players were for that 5-1 win over Blackpool when they just sacked Darren Moore the day before. The situation that Celtic fans have been in since they sacked Wilfried Nancy. It doesn't matter who we get in, it's just brilliant to have sacked him. The whole place gets a lift. Or is there genuine turmoil? The Aberdeen players are really upset that Jimmy Tellin has left. I know they've got a few boys for Scandinavia that he's probably specifically bought. There'll be Jimmy Tellin players. Is that upset them? Is it worried them? Or are they just cold, hard mercenaries? Have they been hating the way he's played, so they're going to get a lift? Or is it like a combination of, we're playing Rangers at Ibrox, first time we've played Rangers this season. All I've been hearing about for Aberdeen fans is how you've got to beat Rangers, you've got to beat Rangers. I'm in a bad mood about the sacking of Jimmy Tellin. Let's just go out and break a Rangers player's leg. You don't know how they were going to react. But Meathoff drops the ball, and then that was Nicky Devlin going right through Nico Raskin. But of course I can't say him, can I? I can't say him because myself and Colin Armstrong did that podcast when Nicky Devlin was still just for the Copeland, for underneath the Copeland. We'd been out at the Loudon watching the game live. Rangers away at Livingston. It was a Saturday game as well. I don't know how, but we were having a few beers, and we did a post-match reaction after that outside the Copeland, and we were talking about Nicky Devlin. He was wearing these big ear defenders. He came on the park wearing these big ear defenders at the start of the game, big bright yellow ear defenders, and I'm like, me and Colin are making chippy comments about what's the state of him wearing the ear defenders. What was he all about? You know what I mean? Was he listening to some music or something like that? Is he just, could he not handle it? Could he not handle the noise of like 7,000 Rangers supporters being and it turned out the next day he'd been wearing the ear defenders because the Rangers mascot, who I think was in a wheelchair, wee boy, he needed ear defenders because I think they were doing a wee bit of pyro or something, a wee bit of official pyro on the park, and the whole noise was going to upset the wee boy. So he was feeling a bit self-conscious. So Nicky Devlin's like, "Don't worry about it, wee man. I'll get the ear defenders on as well." Perfectly normal to make the Rangers mascot feel better. And I swore that day I would never ever. Or the next day when I found out about this, I apologised extensively and said I'll never slag Nicky Devlin again. So when Nicky Devlin went right through Nico Raskin, everybody around about me was jumping up and saying, red card, that should be a red card for the man in the red shirt. And I thought, no, I remember when he was in a yellow shirt and he's wearing those yellow ear defenders, a yellow card I'll do just fine. I'll see it when I get back in the house and I'll watch it back on Sky. But that seemed to be the kind of main incident. It was just us, Aberdeen could not get out their half, but we weren't particularly penetrating, and the reason Aberdeen couldn't get out their half was because we were surrendering our entire half of the park, and then 3 times Aberdeen, we eventually got a goal. We got a goal within, was it 11, 12 minutes? I can't remember much else we'd done. There was a lot of endeavour, I say, without too much penetration, and then we get a corner. Tav had a free kick, I think, that they'd ended up pushing over the bar. Their goalkeeper kind of went to the back post, pushed over the bar. Then we got another corner over the far side from me, over towards the Govan stand side, towards the Aberdeen supporters. And then that got put behind for another corner. It was like just a slow turn of the screw, and I'm pretty sure it was the third set piece on the trot. Emmy Fernandez is in there, and he gets what I reckon is his 5th goal of the season. And big Youssef Chermiti must be like absolutely raging. because Big Chermiti just caught up with him. His third and fourth goal of the season at Parkhead, from open play. He got his, but that's Ebbe Fernandes, another goal from a set piece, and Scott Fry has turned him into potentially Rangers' biggest scorer this season. So I think he's got 5 goals, and is there somebody else with 6? Majowski's got maybe 4 or 5, and Tav has got 7. Tav is still the top scorer, I think, this season with 7 goals, and it's we're into January. So the fact that Rangers are actually second in the league is a bit of a flipping miracle when you consider the way we're spreading. Let's just say we're spreading the scoring of the goals. So I just don't know how to get that tattoo filled in yet. I just got, it's what a day is it. Obviously, I get a tattoo of the Rangers top goal scorer every season. At the end of the season, I get a tattoo of him on my back. That's what I don't eat because I'm greedy and all that, because I'm emotionally dependent on food. No, it's because I need to get wider. I need to get my back wider because I've been supporting Rangers for nearly 50 years. So I've got 49 tattoos in the back there of different players. And Ali McCoy was getting wider every season. He was at Rangers. He was at Rangers for a long time. Top goal scorer a few times out, and he kept getting his. First it was muscular, and then he just got a bit towards the end. He's getting a bit fat and all that. I mean, Alfredo Morelos is on there as well. There's an whole lot of room left, but what I do is, because I get proper tattoos, I'll go in instalments, get different sessions in there, like £100 a session. With my favourite artist, Tribe Tattoo there on Bank Street in the West End, and I'll just do the shorts. Do the strip, get the home strip for any particular season. He'll just do the strip, the details in the strip, but no putting a number in the strip, and no do the player's face or anything. And no do the boots and all that, but just generic boots. Get all that done, and then find out who it is at the end of the season. If is it Kamar Roof, is it James Tavernier, if you're kind of neck and neck, and then he can do, like put in the legs and the skin stuff, and the hair and all that. At the end of the season, we find out who it is. I know some players are taller than others, but if it's going to be between Chermiti and Big Fernandes, that makes it easier because you can have the same kind of spacing between the shorts and the top of the socks. I've always in with the red and black socks, but sometimes if it's a guy that's markedly taller than the fella who ends up being the top, just do like they're bent down. You could just do the legs as if they're bent, and to make the tall guy fit into the pro forma tattoo that I've got in there for the strip. So just we kind of make up our mind. That's what I'm saying to him. He's texting me at half time, my tattoo artist, and he's going, "Geez, what are we getting this year?" I'm like, "What is it? What is the face that is going to be on your back at the end of season 2025, 2026? Is it another James Tavernier? Because I don't know if you get any more Taverniers on your back there, mate. Or is it going to be Big Youssef Chermiti? He's kind of come out the blue, didn't he? Or is it Big Fernandes? Big Fernandes is getting himself in there as well. He's a contender to be on my back. But fantastic. It's a fella. This sums up the whole Danny Röhl reign so far. Guys, you never thought you'd seen a Rangers jersey again as soon as we got a new manager in. Maybe because we had to. Maybe because Danny Röhl's had nothing else to work with except what he inherited when he took over. We're just getting, I said, Magoma being a fixture now at left back and being quite comfortable at left back. It's almost like we went to a back five, just put the stabilisers on him to get him used to being at left back for Rangers. He's working, and the goal return we're getting from big Emmy Fernandes, as well as his silky stepovers that he does, that do not give me a heart attack. I don't get scared when he does all that kind of stuff at the back as well. It's symptomatic of what Danny Röhl has done for this club since he arrived. And that was what happened. Then Aberdeen started, they had to up their game, they had to try and get out their own half, and as I said, they quickly found out that we'd given them the whole of our half if they wanted to try and get out, and they just did the curvy ball that's kind a bit high, kind of goes over the top, and is kind of curled round the way to get to their centre forward. They had Nisbet and what's the guy called, Bibitov or something? That's terrible. You don't know. It was a foreign player. The number 14, the other striker, foreign chap, and Kevin Nisbet. The two of them playing up front with Stuart Armstrong, I think, sitting beside him. Stuart Armstrong, one of the guys that played for Celtic, but was so inoffensive as a person, and yet so bloody Rolls Royce as a player that I would have taken him. I would always have taken Stuart Armstrong. After he gone to Southampton, there was occasional rumours that he was going to come to Rangers, and I would not have had a problem with the fact that he had played for Celtic. He's a great player, Stuart Armstrong, but obviously getting towards the back end of his career now, getting a bit slower, and we're generally keeping all over them tonight, but they pick these balls over the consistent, the theme of Rangers this season, this susceptibility to a high ball. round the back of us. It was happening on Saturday when we went with a high press against Celtic. I think we've decided to go with a high press that we can actually sustain tonight, because we'll just basically try to keep Aberdeen pinned into their own half. Much more able to do that against Aberdeen at Ibrox than we are to do it to Celtic at Parkhead. But women behind us, and there was one coming from each wing. And there was another one, I think it was Nico Raskin getting dispossessed in the halfway line, and they had various attempts. They managed to mess it up in various ways. Aberdeen, it was the same. It was number 14, and at one point, he was through in goals, and he took a bad touch, because these balls run the side or over the top, consistently picked this fella out. And I think maybe the first time he took a bad touch, he knocked it just in front of himself when he was clean through, and that let Jack Butland come out and win the ball, and he runs behind the goal and he boots. I thought at first he just kind of booted a little bit of paper from the Tifo that had strayed onto the park, but there was a large cries of outrage. It turned out he'd booted a ball off. You know, the little spare balls, the not little spare, they're match balls, the multi-ball system that sit on these little cones. I thought he'd booted one of the wee cones but into the crowd, but they booted a ball off the top of a cone, like football golf, like teeing off at golf football, right into the Union Bears, I would imagine. So but there wasn't a mad backlash about it, but pretty nasty stuff. Rangers still 1-1 at that point in time, so this happened 2 or 3 times and they couldn't make anything of it, Aberdeen, but we looked a bit susceptible at the back, and the one where Nico Raskin got dispossessed, again it showed up in Nico Raskin's goal. He gets a second goal, of course. It just shows up why it's a big discussion just now. He's not a 6, he's an 8. He should be getting forward. Everything goes through Nico Raskin, absolutely everything. He is at the heart of anything we do well. I might have had a few wee kind of problems with his attitudes over the years and his level of performance against particular teams. I think even when Nico Raskin is a bit switched off and I'm thinking he can't be arsed, everything still goes through him. And he was good tonight, Nico Raskin. But I think it maybe happened a couple of times he got dispossessed. That time Nicky Devlin went through him as well, to try and achieve the same thing. He's coming back so deep, he's sitting between the centre halves, he's sitting in amongst the defenders at the last line, and he's just susceptible to getting the ball taken off his toes sometimes because he's no a 6. If we could get a decent 6 and retain Raskin and have Raskin pushing up all the time, because we lack sometimes a bit around about the number 10 area. So it would be phenomenal. It would make things absolutely phenomenal, I think, if we get Nico Raskin, because we'll only have him for the rest of the season at most if he doesn't go in January. If we could get a proper 6, maybe even 2 proper 6s in there behind him and let Nico Raskin roam up the park, it could be absolutely phenomenal. But that was just a minor complaint, and you weren't going to complain about Nico Raskin after we scored again just before half time, or 42nd minute. I saw it was minute 41 for player 43, Nico Raskin, the guy from postcode 43 in whatever Belgian city he is from, scored in minute 41 to put Rangers to the lead by 2 goals to go to place 2 in the league, and they've scored goals to get them closer to Celtic's goals. I can't get it at all. Nico Raskin scored another corner bar and corner. Nico Raskin and the other flashes, that thing he does, again proving why he's a great 8. He's great at attacking the box, great at attacking the ball in the air, and he gets in there, wins the header. And I think big FERNANDEZ, the other aspect of his play beneficial to us is he almost kind of wears Nico Raskin at times. In the second half there was a wee move where it's like a kangaroo that's got the wee joy in the pouch. Nico Raskin kind of hides in front of the absolute unit that is Manny Fernandez, or I keep calling him Emmy Fernandez, and he helps him get even more ghosty in his runs for high balls into the box. That and the fact that he's pretty amazingly electric in the air. But look, Maurice Johnson was a lot taller than Nico Raskin, but Maurice Johnson always jumped. He got to amazing heights for his actual body height, and so did Eric Black. Talking about Aberdeen, Eric Black, the first time. No, the second time I saw Aberdeen beating us in the Scottish Cup final 2 seasons in a trot, 82 and 83. Eric Black scoring the goal. Didn't have to jump too high for that one, but he was amazing, the height he could get. But Nico Raskin, one of the guys that can. It's all about the timing of his runs more than the height he can get onto. But anyway, it's 2-0. Sorry, that was it. Nico Raskin put us 2-0 up. There was a head injury. It was Jaden Magoma and I think it was Nicky Devlin that made the second half went on for a wee bit longer, and Nico Raskin or John Souttar, I can't make up my mind who it was. Again, we got another set piece in the injury time at the end of the first half flashed across goal, and I think there was a kind of bad miss. It would have been a third-headed goal. This was injury time in the first half, so we only go in 2-0 down at half-time. Fellow Asgard is out in the park warming up, so I tell everybody that sits around me that that's because Diamandi hasn't really been penetrating enough. Now, it's going to be a thing we're going to have to get used to. Sometimes Asgard and Diamandi is horses for courses. They're both going to have a bad first half, and the other one will come on and have a good second half in their places. Different kind of opponents we come up against. Aberdeen obviously had to start coming at us, but they're probably the most kind of low block side we've come up against this season domestically. Like this myth that Russell Martin was going to be able to wear teams down with his expansive football by inviting the press all the time. It's just, well, we found out the very first game in the league. Motherwell were just coming at us. They're just going to come at us that day at Fir Park, and that's been the case for a lot of teams. Even teams coming to Ibrox, quite happy to play at football, quite happy to have a goal. You're only pinning them into their own half because we've got better footballers, because we're playing well. A bit of that for Aberdeen, but Aberdeen were really sat back tonight. You can maybe imagine why, because of their current situation managerially. But I thought, it's maybe too. Diamandi needs space to run into. I was mouthing off to everybody, so I think Asgard's going to come on. I know he didn't. I know he wasn't up for the fight. Really, it looked like on Saturday against Celtic, but it's a different kind of game. He can use his silky skills perhaps to break things down. We need somebody who can, a bit of a locksmith, somebody who unpick a lock in a way that Diamandi can't really. Diamandi can do it better when he's running into space. You don't get that in these kind of games. So of course it was Mikey Moore that went off, and I just went to the toilet. Mikey Moore went off. And Asgard come on, and he went to the right-hand side, and Gassama, geez, I'm always going to pause with the two. He went over to the left, and where Mikey Moore had been playing. And it was Aberdeen had a couple of chances, first couple of minutes. They had a bit of pressure. So they were up towards where to go. Did they win a corner, a shy, or something like that? And then it was just about us. We had a shot from James Tavernier from outside the box. It went kind of comfortably over. Then we had a shot from Connor Barron from outside the box that was less comfortably over for Aberdeen. It just kind of zipped over the top of the bar. Whoa, and we wanted Connor Barron to score because he had an absolute stormer tonight. He was everywhere, Connor Barron. Sensational output from that young man. The engine on him, the heart on him, the stamina on him. He's doing this in so many games across this period. And then we had a shot from Nico Raskin that went sailing. He was shooting from the edge of the box over on the main stand side, and it went past the far post. So to guys, maybe it wasn't as close as I thought, but you're sitting in the main stand, it looked like it was going to go into the top bin. We're getting closer and closer, but that was, I think, did Majowski have a shot towards the end? By the time he was on the park, that went sailing over the bar. That was as close as we really came. I think we had a go from a corner or something, a set piece. We got contact on it, but never really elicited a save or anything from Mitov in the Aberdeen goal. Aberdeen had a little spell, maybe 2-3 minutes, where there was a shy. This is early in the second half. There was a shy over on the Govan stand sides, and we kind of lost track of what was happening. They got the ball into our box, and one of their players had a backwards header, a kind of back header, got contact to it, and it just looped towards that back post where Jack Butland was not. He was standing in the middle of the goal. We think that's just going to go into the back of the net, and it didn't. It went past the post, and they'd won again right towards the end, kind of injury time towards the end. That looked, it might have been absolutely miles away, but it looked like it might loop into the back of the net. That was when, just at the exact same time that the PA, the Tannoy announcement, come across. It'd be 3 minutes of injury time. You're thinking, this is just going to go in. That gives them enough time to get a quick second, and it's a complete disaster for Rangers. But no, it was almost like all the worry about us throwing away this game was contained in that one moment. This header, or whatever it was, some sort of contact from Aberdeen, up at the Brimlin end. They've got a chance here. It's just been announced it's going to be 3 minutes of injury time. This needs to go in. If it does go in, though, they've got a chance of getting us again on the break. It didn't go in. And that was it. So it felt kind of relieved, all in a wonder. That was almost the moment that we knew the game was won, or I did anyway. It might not have been anyway close at all, that chance. I'll check it in the telly. And I think part of the reason we're kind of worried about stuff, might have been worrying that we could give this away, was because I think you're just looking for reasons to worry, to keep yourself on your toes in case anything does happen. keep myself on your toes emotionally. It seemed pretty obvious to most neutrals that Rangers were just kind of cruising through this game within themselves. But as a supporter, you're always wanting to stay on your toes because you want to communicate somehow to Rangers to stay on their toes. Because we'd made a lot of substitutions. We made that one substitution at half-time, bringing on Asgard for Mikey Moore. And I think it was around about the 58th minute, we had a double substitution where... Now, what one was that? That was... I always lose track of the substitutions. I've no chance. I know in total the substitutions were Majowski come on for Chermiti. We had John Souttar gone off for Dujon Sterling. And we had... who else was coming on? We had... flipping heck. Every game. See if it gets cold. I've got no chance of remembering. I don't know. I've been doing this forever. Been doing these post-match reaction pods. I watched the substitutions at Ibrox, and I cannot remember them. I cannot. And I'm like, how can you forget? How are you ever going to forget that Dujon Sterling's coming on for John Souttar? Right. That's fine. Without going through all the positions on the park, Diamandi get injured. Ideal get an injury. He was going through on goal and didn't have anybody to lay the ball off to. I think he tried a shot. Quite bad at shooting, Diamandi. He scored a couple for the edge of the box for Rangers. Not tonight. But I think somebody gave him a wee kick or whatever, and that was it. Or he landed awkwardly. So he got a bit of treatment and then had to go off. So who come on for Diamandi? Danilo come on for Diamandi as well. But we did 2 substitutions, 58 minutes. A substitution like 68 minutes. And then I think maybe Majowski for Chermiti might have been the last one. I'm not sure. Don't quote me. You'll know better than me. But I'm thinking, are we doing these substitutions? We're kind of weakening the squad. But Dujon Sterling coming on for John Souttar, isn't he weakening things in any way? We took Connor Barron off with about just before full time. I think about 87 minutes before the 90th minute, and I thought maybe to give him a standing ovation, but he was having such a great game, Connor Barron. Let's just keep him on the park just now. He's central to everything we're doing. It's one of those games that's very midfieldy, and we were kind of keeping the mass of the game. We were pushing the midfield into Aberdeen's half for most of the game. Not a lot going on in the boxes. And you need somebody like Connor Barron in that kind of game, and I say Nico Raskin was fantastic as well. But a lot of bitty play, a lot of stuff play breaking down, but Rangers on it. Not a lot of endeavour. Knew what we were doing without there being a greatly silky performance. But I was a bit worried with the substitution, the amount of substitutions we were making. But I think it's more a case of rotating the squad tonight. I think only when Danilo come on for in place of Diamandi, and that might have been just, of course that's necessary because Diamandi's been injured. Only then were you thinking we're starting to weaken things, we're starting to make things a bit. But I think I'm using this as a way to build up to saying well done Danny Röhl on the way he has got all these players back. That he's got to the point where, as I said on Saturday, to have John Souttar and Dujon Sterling playing the entire game at Parkhead. And being absolutely magnificent when they've played so little football before that. That's why the boy that sits next to me, like Robert that sits on my left-hand side, he's been sitting next to me for the game against Motherwell, which we won by a single goal, the game against St Mirren, which we won by a single goal, the game against Hibs, which we won by a single goal. All these single goal wins that have had maybe my nerves absolutely shredded as it gets towards the end of the game, because any slip up for Rangers in these games, and then worse so after we lost at Tynecastle, was going to mean it was all over in terms of the league, in terms of getting any pressure on Celtic when they were constantly losing games with Wilfried Nancy. I'm really nervous now, and when he's putting on Clinton and Ciala, to give I don't know if it was Dujon Sterling or John Souttar a rest against St Mirren when we're 2-0 up, they pull a goal back, and it's like this is dodgy. And Robert turned to me the night, and he's after we'd made about 4 substitutions. What these substitutions? I think these substitutions we're making. He's really chancing it, isn't he? He's really taking a chance all the time, Danny Röhl. We're going to get caught out one of these times. And I'm like, no, I don't think he's weakened. I don't think he's weakened the team tonight. I think these substitutions are actually fine. And it's like that way, I had no idea. It took me a second to realise that Robert was actually just, referring back to me, something I had said to show that he pays attention to stuff. He's been nice, basically. That look in somebody's face when they're looking at you going, I actually don't care, mate. I was just trying to be pleasant, but fucking hell. And I had to quickly dial that back and say, I know what you mean. I get nervous at the substitutions he's making, but I know why Danny Röhl is making all these substitutions. We're wanting Rangers to be winning 3-0 before you start bringing on players for this, giving guys game time to get them fit. Danny Röhl does it when we're winning 1-0. I think sometimes he does it when we're drawing as well. He just wants to get players fitter, and he just trusts them to get the necessary points while they're doing that. It's quite a thing. It's quite a thing to watch. And tonight we're in a situation where most of the players we're bringing on were just as good. I mean, Majowski was a struggle for him to get involved in the game, and Big Chermiti was putting himself about tonight. Very physical game, but wasn't really looking like scoring tonight, Big Chermiti. But apart from that, I think it is tonight we're finding that the squad is getting fitter, but it needs to get bigger, or it needs to get changes. It needs to get changes. You don't want the squad getting too big. What I'm trying to say clumsily is the next big thing is to get signings in. We need to get players in. We need to get fresh blood in there before that becomes a reason for fans to start protesting or something. Because Celtic have got their wee injection with Martin O'Neill coming back, a wee injection of belief. He'll make a few signings, no doubt. There was no way Celtic were wanting to give Wilfried Nancy their money to spend in the January transfer window, but I, like a lot of yous, would have expected Rangers to have had a few people in the door as soon as the bells sounded from the 31st into the 1st of January. I thought we'd have had that stuff kind of pre-organised and ready to go. I don't know if Danny Röhl started telling the bosses, I can win this thing, I can win this league with these players. You know, like it's a challenge. Like when I used to play the FIFA 2000, I think it was, when the last time I played Xbox or Sony PlayStation, whatever it was. It was Odd Grenland, odd from. I used to find the worst possible team, the worst kind of ratings you could get to try and win the Champions League and the league with him. I don't know if that Danny Röhl's got the idea to do that, but he's got his second in the league, so no wonder he would start to believe in himself maybe a bit too much. From 8th up to 2nd, I say we'll play the game more than Celtic below us and 3rd, but how good does that sound to say Celtic are below us? Did you think you'd be saying that this time October? Did you think you'd be saying that in October? Do you think you'd be saying it November even? Do you think you'd be saying it when we lost 2-1 to Hearts at Tynecastle in December? That's where we are. We're 2nd. And, of course, the one time... It's like the Champions League. The one time we finished 2nd in our Champions League groups... This is up before 2005, 2006 under Big Ek. But the one time we finished 2nd in our Champions League group, the very first season of the Champions League, it was the one time that 2nd place didn't progress, didn't get through to the next round. It felt like we were cursed never to get to the group stage until that season we did under Alec McLeish. And it's like that. We spent the whole season just you would say, the last 10 years, just finish above Celtic, and you'll be fine. And that's us above Celtic, and we've still got another team above us. The Jambos are still top of the league in January, so we've still got two teams to compete with, but we're pulled away from Motherwell, as I say, and it's a lovely night. It was a kind of routine win, and it was a hard-fought win. A lot went into it. I just hope the Diamandi's no injured, and it's all about building up now till Sunday. Snagging list. I don't really do the snagging. Didn't really do the snagging list tonight, folks. Just to say, I'm so sorry for the lateness and the length. The length of the podcast may be understandable with everything that's going on just now at Rangers, with the kind of high peril and emotion attached to all the games. There's a wee sweepy guy behind us there. Can you see him? I got him in there. There he is there. That's your favourite, your star of the Fat Egg post-match reaction pods, this sweepy guy. He's actually coming to get me. He's stalking me. It's personal. He's taking it personal. But the length of these podcasts, I'm getting a bit verbose. Getting a bit tired as it gets a bit later at night and stuff like that. But I'm posting, the preview pods are going up too late. I need to do something about that. The preview pods are getting posted too late. Like last night's went up at like midnight for a game that's Macy's get your work and all that, and it's an hour and a half long. They're either too short and too early, or too long and too late. But I'll try and kind of rectify that a bit. And also, a lot of the pods are out of sync. They're out of sync. My recording equipment's crap, and I need to try and rectify that. But I should start putting money on the correct score, because I've done all right. I predicted 2-0 for tonight as well. A lot of us were predicting 3-1 for Parkhead. Although I predicted Parkhead could be 3-1 or 2 each. Another one I got right a few weeks ago. Was it beating St Mirren 2-1? Was that? I can't remember. But it's just probably start pitting. The minute I start thinking about money and thinking about odds, it messes with my chi. I don't judge honestly what I think the score's going to be, but this run will come to an end for me in terms of predicting Rangers scores. But I hope they don't. I hope it doesn't come to an end for Danny Röhl in terms of the way he's providing Rangers scores. A magnificent run under this manager. This run of, I think he cited it as being 7 league games. He wasn't doing the 1 game at a time thing when he talked about this run. The way we've all looked at it as Rangers supporters as well. Motherwell, St Mirren, Hearts was in there as well. We failed at that one, but Motherwell, St Mirren, Hibs. We've got Celtic away, Celtic at Parkhead, and then Aberdeen home and away. We're nearly at the end of that run, and it's only Hearts at Tynecastle that we've dropped points to. Get to Sunday, we've then got a Scottish Cup tie at home on a Friday night against a struggling League 1 side, a League 2 side, and an Athletic. And then you've got a 6-day wait until we play Ludogorets, who are a fairly poor to middling Europa League side like ourselves. We've got them at Ibrox the following Thursday. That's plenty of time for rest and recuperation. It's going to be a completely different game, although it might be the same score, I think. On Sunday against Aberdeen, they might have a new manager in by that point, or Peter Leaving might still be in charge. They'll be right up for it anyway. So this is it. Just one more win, Rangers in this run of league games. And then, what do you mean, Alec? Do you mean we're quite happy to get beat off Annan in the Scottish Cup? Nope. Quite happy. And I need us to beat Ludogorets as well, because we need to get a win on board in the Europa League to avoid total humiliation in that group stage. No, I just mean you need to push it. Just push it one more time. You've got until Sunday now, 4:30 kick-off on Sunday. It's a game on a Tuesday night. Plenty of time to rest and recover. Don't lose any focus. Maybe get some new signings in between now and Sunday as well. Just get this run over the line. We've augmented what we did on Saturday. We've recovered what we didn't do. We've recovered from what we didn't do at Tynecastle. Now let's go out and rubber stamp what we've done tonight by retaining our second place. And it has been, let's be honest, Celtic aren't used to being third. We're so used to being second in the league in the last decade or so. We should totally own this. We should own this situation just now. It's getting up to first that's always been the problem of late. But that's us. So after the Lord Mayor's show in London in 1888, the Lord Mayor's show was always in London, Alec. It was the day of the Lord Mayor's show, London 1888, that they discovered the body of, is it Mary Jane? Oh, I can't. Mary Jane Kelly, sometimes known as Marie Jeanette Kelly, because she had slight kind of pretensions. She was the last victim of Jack the Ripper. If somebody actually just got in touch before I come out at full time, then I checked my phone and somebody got in touch saying they thought I looked like Dominic Sandbrook. You know, the guy that does I think Dominic Sandbrook will be soon, mate. You better watch yourself. But thanks anyway. Top historian on the rest is, and if you know your history podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, you know about the rest is genre. The Gary Lineker owned production company does the rest is podcasts, but the rest is history. Dominic Sandbrook, and I can't remember the name of the other guy, which is terrible because I don't know what it is. I think Charles Dickens has got a lot to answer for when it comes to, because that's an hour. I've been talking for an hour. I'm trying to make this short. I felt as if that raced by, you know. But I think Charles Dickens got a lot to answer for when it comes to your kind of fetishisation of Victorian London at Christmas time, which is a place of total, you know, total class struggle, the subjugation of the poor, and the poor occasionally being mutilated and murdered by Jack the Ripper as well. But we love that. That's for some reason I found myself wanting to listen to something different over the Christmas periods, that I want to get away from the football slightly, to get into the holiday mood. I was listening to their series on Jack the Ripper because they've discovered the identity of Jack the Ripper. I haven't listened to the last episode yet. It's recently been discovered who it was. So don't tell me. A few of you got in touch, and I specifically asked you not to tell me the score for the Old Firm game at the weekend, because I was watching the sports scene highlights on Saturday night as live, and some of you got in touch with me on Saturday night to tell me. So I'm going to don't get in touch and tell me who Jack the Ripper was, because I'm going to find out. I'm going to watch the rest of this history, the final part. It's a 5-part series, I think. really enjoying it, and I just couldn't help noticing this. I was obsessed with being after Lord Mayor's show in this game tonight against Aberdeen. A bit of a downer, a bit of a come down after the delights and the partying of Saturday would be able to rise to that occasion. And it was after the Lord Mayor's show, the actual Lord Mayor's show in 1888, that Mary Jane Kelly, the last victim, and they thought she might have been pretending to be Irish. They were saying that turns out she might not have been, she might have been Welsh. She's most likely to have actually been English, and just thought being a bit Celtic made her more, because it's a terrible life. She's a really hard life, so she'd a few fantasies about keeping herself behind. And I thought, that's Celtic. Be fantasies about being more romantic by being Irish or whatever. That's the same. And she sometimes called herself Marie Jeanette Kelly, because she thought she's a sex worker, the poor lassie, because she was really struggling for money, as so many people were in those days. And they were saying that's she preferred to think of herself as a kind of French courtesan, a bit sophisticated and whatnot. I thought, fair enough. We all tell ourselves these things, don't we? I can't imagine what it's like to be a kind of poor person hanging about in the dead of night, between like kind of 10:30 towards midnight, out in a big city, in kind of darkened corners with terrible cold weather in the winter time. Must be terrible to earn. You can't even earn enough money to get yourself a new phone, so your podcast will only be out of sync. Anyway, so that was. I'm thinking that's all the French thing, but nobody really believed the French name. The French thing hadn't really worked, for Celtic. They hadn't worked for Celtic, and it was they're talking about Jekyll and Hyde, which I remember studied. I studied Jekyll and Hyde, read it a few times, obviously, and I did a wee kind of exam, a wee degree essay on it, stuff like that. And then I went to see the play. There was a play, Jekyll and Hyde, a couple of times. I was studying that as well. And it was first went to the stage. No, Robert Louis Stevenson. It first went to the stage, Jekyll and Hyde, in late 1887. And they were just talking on this, the rest of history pod, about how it was a kind of the parallel that folk thought it's quite striking that this character Jekyll and Hyde, it was a Victorian gentleman who's basically going out at night and doing horrific things of a sexual and violent nature, and I thought maybe it is Jack the Ripper, And it's 1887, I think that's when Celtic were first. There's talk of them actually being formed in 1887, isn't there? But it's all very. The mystery's going to be solved, and that whole thing of, after Lord Mayor in 1888, and then there's Martin O'Neill, who of course went to the trials of the Yorkshire Ripper, which isn't funny and isn't romantic, and a very, it's very real. Jack the Ripper's a very real thing back in the day as well, but the East End, the old darkened East End, and the mythology and the need to romanticise things and all that. That's pretty much hit us hard in the last 24 hours. Martin O'Neill is back as saviour of Celtic, and that's going to be a massive thing for Rangers, how that works out for them. Because as I was saying in my post-match reaction pods to the Old Firm win on Saturday, they looked good in that first half. Celtic, they looked like they could blow us away in that first half. How we dug in and didn't let them blow us away is probably even more of a credit to Danny Röhl, even more of a reason to be confident in this current squad than the way we responded in the second half, the way we came out in the second half and blew them away. It's how you perform when you're totally under pressure is a good thing, but he was the saviour, Martin O'Neill. He won 7 out of his 8 games in charge when he came back as caretaker manager after Brendan Rodgers fell out with that board. So the idea is he's going to come back and do it again. I was saying to myself, they just have to get rid of Nancy, Celtic, and they'll be absolutely fine. They'll go back to being favourites for the title as far as I'm concerned. And I think O'Neill puts them back in that situation as well. But he is 73 years old. We had Graham Murty coming in as caretaker manager, and he was really good in his first spell. And then when he came back after Kashinya didn't work out, and we made him manager to the end of the season as well, didn't we? And that really didn't work out. So maybe the same thing is going to happen with Martin O'Neill. They say he should never come back. It worked out okay on a temporary basis, maybe just knowing he was going to be there for a month. But now he knows he's going to be there to the end of the season. That's him coming back for a second time. I don't know how that's going to work, but Celtic certainly can't get any worse than they were under Nancy, who lost 6 of his 8 games in charge, who managed to be only lasting 32, 33 days an even more cataclysmic signing as head coach and manager than Russell Martin was for us, and that took some of the pressure off us. But the main beneficiary, the people who are laughing at the both of us as both Rangers fans and Celtic fans during the course of the season, have pretended to be celebrating as if Saddam Hussein's been toppled, and we're all hitting the memory of our previous, the sacked head coach with our removed shoes. I think the people that are laughing at us most are Hearts, just looking down the two of us thinking, just you carry on, while we all fall out about whether Martin O'Neill means that Celtic didn't actually get, Martin O'Neill returning means Celtic didn't actually get beat. They didn't actually get beat at Parkhead on Saturday, while we're all giving it Danny Röhl means that we didn't actually get gubbed 6-0 off Club Bruges under Russell Martin. You know, the Martin coming in or the Martin that's gone, or whatever. It's while we're getting ourselves our knickers in a twist about all that, the Jambos are going into their second transfer window with the Jamestown analytics, Tony Bloom's expertise and the serious money they have behind them. The way they've spent that money during the summer doesn't mean to say they're not going to have a better January transfer window, a better January in general than both Rangers and Celtic, and they are still favourites for the title. But the Rangers have responded straight away to even, we went to Parkhead, scalped them. And then they get rid of the manager that's responsible for that. They get Martin O'Neill in, the old saviours come back, and Rangers have responded positively to that again straight away. So, aye, we'll see what happens. And when we get to the end of the season, the rest is, and if you know your history. Thanks for your attention, folks. I will talk to you again at some point before before the game on Sunday. I'll try to make it before midnight on Saturday night or 2 o'clock on Sunday morning. Give you plenty of time, and I'll try not to make it as long and rambly as this one. But that's the promise I'm always making to you. The only guy who's keeping his promises these days is Danny Röhl.